like he wasn't legitimate enough to speak up for the Carmelo family. So then this big guy came from, I recorded it all, but I don't want to put out negativity for the community of people trying to find their way. But it's chaotic out there, man.
Yeah, man, that's kind of crazy. I've been kind of reluctant to go anywhere near that because see, I don't like all of that, that kind of stuff. I am from Dallas, but I'm South Dallas, man, and I know you're not from here, Mel, but somebody run up on me, man, that's gonna be a problem. So I don't play like that. You walk up on me, talk to me when you're not supposed to. You get close to me, I don't play any of that. That's not safe, and those are some of the things that I worry about, and how people are acting out there, man. I mean, that's pretty. That can be pretty bad, and like I said, they don't know you, and you didn't even happen to know how this guy was. You're just trying to get an interview. And so, we
Right.
got to be careful, people. We got to be careful out here. Somebody
I
said,
mean,
Austin, I'll go ahead.
yeah, the white guy for one of the videos, I think is even out there. He seems sincere, but he's like, listen, your people talking to the black people. I mean, they're head to head. Your people out here hunting down our people, killing them. That's a tough narrative, man. So when I heard that, I'm like, man, I thought New York was bad, but I have to, be more careful out here, man.
Well, this is the one thing that I try to tell people. Texas is a little different. We have a lot of stuff going on out here, and there's some stuff that I think has been bubbling for a while, and I just think we better get a hold to it, because I think it's going to get worse. And this is one of those cases where I'm truly concerned about what's going to happen, either way, depending on how this thing goes. I'm really
Right.
concerned about that. I
I have a
really am.
question.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Getting back to Eddie really quick, it was established quite well that Eddie knew Carmelo, and that's why Carmelo came under the tent. In fact,
Hmm.
they had a pattern of hanging out together at these events, right?
Hmm.
When these guys started to have a confrontation, Shook had asked a very important question. He says, "Listen, you spent all this time. You even hang out with the man. The man hung out with your grandmother. Your family date. Why didn't you, when all these guys said, 'Who is this guy here?' Why didn't you say, 'Hey, that's my boy. That's Carmelo. He used to date my cousin.' Why didn't you diffuse the situation? But instead, he said, 'Isn't it true that you stood up and started recording them when they were arguing?' He was like, 'Yeah.' He was like, but I wasn't recording for real. I was pretending to be recording. He said my phone was off. And so Shook is like, why would you pretend to be recording in a day and age when people want to get all sorts of footage of the case, right? So this is where Shook really threw me off. He says, were you aware that there's two people that said they saw you with your phone out? He didn't say recording, but
Hmm.
you know how sometimes when you're recording, people see what you see on this side
Hmm.
and they see that light, that red light going that you're recording, right?
Hmm.
But it gave me a feeling as though Shook was setting them up to say, we got a video coming down the pipeline. Because Eddie is claiming there was no video. In
Hmm.
fact, they went back to the time of the investigation right after the event happened. And he
Hmm.
says, when the officer called you in to look at your phone to see if you had a video, did he take your phone? Did he confiscate it, kind of like in Diddy's case or Luigi Mangione? He says, no. He looked at my phone. He checked my deleted folders. He checked his Snapchat. He did it all in front of me. And then he was like, okay, you can have your phone back. You're clear to go. And so the Shook was like, the defense attorney was like, that's odd because if you had a video, that video would show who is the real culprit in this situation. But now you don't have a video and you claim you are pretending. It just doesn't make sense. So, man, that's a problem. And I'm telling you, the defense might have something coming down the pipeline as far as a video because it just seemed weird how the attorneys, I know how these attorneys think, and they
Hmm.
set you up with these questions to see if you
Hmm.
are going to be honest, and then they come back and drop the bomb on you.
And I'm gonna tell you, Toby Shook is really, really good about that kind of stuff. And if Mike Howard chose him to assist him, I think that was a good move for him. Toby knows what he is doing, and you could be very well to have that. And I'm gonna tell you, what I would surmise is that since that has happened, they probably took that kid's phone and had it scanned. And what happens so that the general public understands this, if there's an allegation that he was recording, and let's say he deletes that recording is not deleted. What they can do is they can put your phone on this program called Cellbrite. And what happens is they can put it on this machine, and sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes a year and a half. But that damn machine will extract every piece of information off of that phone, even if it's been deleted. So if he thinks that he went on there and did some recording and he thinks he deleted it, there's a way to get that video. So if there is a potential for a video on that phone, then we need to look out because that could potentially be coming down the pipe.
He actually said, he was like, in this particular case, pretty much I'm speaking loosely, but if your
Hmm.
associates, Austin, if they were incriminating themselves in any way, then your video would tell the real truth, wouldn't it? Something like that, a question he threw at him.
Hmm.
And that's a real serious situation. But I feel like that defense has something coming that's gonna probably shock the whole community. I
Now,
could
if
be
they, oh wow, if they get a video, if they come up with a video of it happening the second way, that's going to be a problem for the prosecution because if it happens the second way, and I'm going to tell you, if it's a situation where they did that football move on him, man, when they put that football move on you as a linebacker and you a little wide receiver, you got to do what you got to do to get up from out of that because somebody puts that move on you, man, you're in trouble.
and
And
you know what
so
else?
that's a problem.
And another thing I wanted to discuss with you, having your, expert opinion, is that all of these kids tried to come in and say that the twin brother Hunter was always sitting down and he wasn't really saying a lot, right?
Mhm.
Well, there have been some that have placed him as being, like, for instance, a guy named Tion came in. He says Hunter and them started on Carmelo. Oh,
Mhm.
Hunter's the aggressor? You
Mhm.
see what I'm saying? So now certain ones, another witness said that Hunter was standing behind Austin. So now Carmelo has two individuals, big guys, 220 pounds, the other one maybe 200 pounds,
Mhm.
standing in front of him and coming his way, one charging him.
Mhm.
All of these things are important, but when you look at the case,
Mhm.
they're trying to taper that down. And I feel like it's by design, although I can't, my guess is good as your guess. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and see that's another issue that I have an issue with. Now, if it's one on one, it's one thing, but I know in the past on my end, if something is happening with my brother, God bless his soul, he's gone to heaven now. But if somebody was gonna put their hands on my brother, then we go into war. Like I don't care how many people. If it's 10 of them, somebody's trying to do something to my brother, I'm gonna chase him. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna stand behind my brother, and that's how everybody is taught. And so I can very seldomly see a situation where if my brother's getting ready to be involved in an altercation, then I'm not going to
Mhm.
have his back. So that's puzzling that he would just be sitting there while that happens. Pretty much, brothers have each other's backs. That's just you teach your
Yeah,
kids that. Like if something's going to go down, like we gonna do it together. But we'll see because that's the thing. That's the thing you run the risk of. You got the prosecution that they have their narrative, but then it seems like you're getting little peaks of different stories or that it didn't happen the way that they trying to line it up.
right.
And one of the things that I think as a defense attorney that I've done in the past, when I get, let's say I got 10 witnesses in a case and six of them give this perfect story about how something happens. And then I got four of them that tell a similar story, but it ain't all 100% the same, but most of it is the same. I try to line out to people that those six people may have been coached to say things a particular way, and these other four, they're just coming in natural, telling you how they remember it. And maybe they got the color of the car being black or dark blue, or the color of the shirt being red and orange. But they all saw the main facts the same way. And to me, that's the more natural way that the witnesses see things. This other way, where they're painting by numbers, where they say one, everybody say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Humans don't really see stuff like that. We see things differently. So, as a defense attorney, when I got six people saying the same thing, and I got four people saying 80, 90% of the same thing, that's how I differentiate these four people if I want my jurors to believe these four people. So that's kind of how I do that. And so I think Worski and Dewey are probably going to say, hey, we had 10 people, 12 people come tell you what happened. They only got this, and this. And then Mike Howard and Toby Shook are going to say, hey, they're saying this, and this, but that came out of a can. They're answering paint by numbers. We're telling you the real deal because these other four people are saying, or five people are saying it happened this way. Now, 100% of their stories are not the same, but 80 to 90% of their stories are the same. And we know that humans, they don't remember every little single bitty thing, but they remember the big parts. And so that's how you, as a defense attorney, when you have the numbers of somebody against you that's higher, you use those other numbers to your advantage. And so I think there's going to be a little bit of a game of that happening.
So let me ask you this question. Several of the boys came in. Quite a few of the witnesses were black guys, even a black girl or two or whatever. But one of them, they all, quite a few of them said that they all were chiming in on Carmelo. So that's kind of scary because I'm like, how many of them actually stood up?
Mm-hmm.
Their stories kind of sync, but it's almost like they're in cahoots, right? But one of the guys, he made a key expression that I want to ask you about. Very
Mm-hmm.
important. He said that Austin was going, starting with Carmelo. Carmelo put his hand in his bag, and I guess this is around the time when Austin says, "Hey, I'm gonna remove your bitch ass," whatever they're
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
The guy says he told Austin, "I believe he has something. Don't mess with him."
Mm-hmm.
Austin says, "I don't think he has anything. This is Fresno or whatever you call Frisco, Fresno. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What's the
Mm-hmm.
name of that? Right? Frisco.
Frisco, yeah.
This is Frisco. Nobody will have a knife in Frisco." And he proceeded to bum rush him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? He did not even heed the words of a friend.
And see, that's another thing within itself, and that's where I'm concerned about that kind of thing. And so that's where you got to be careful. Those are the type things where it could be extremely iffy if you went over to that young man and you did a football move to him, and because of that football move of picking him up while he's sitting down, and if he's sitting down and you did that football move on him, then that's a problem because now you've been told not to go over there. You put your hands on him, you do a football move on him. He's sitting down. You're bigger than he is, and now you're using that you're using that move on him. And if that is the case, that's going to be a problem for the prosecution. Now, like I said, we're just calling it down the middle. If it's a situation where Carmelo just stabs him because he pushes him, Carmelo can't do that. But if Austin is the aggressor and he did that football move and ended up on top of him, man, that's a problem. That's a problem for the prosecution.
Let me tell you this other discrepancy about Eddie that Shook did a good job with, right? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
the kids were coming in, they said that Eddie was sitting down and that Carmelo sit beside him. When Eddie gave his testimony, he made it seem that he was at a different part of the tent. Carmelo walked up, sat down, and he went and sat not next to him, but a couple seats. He tried to create some space, but
Mm-hmm.
Shook's like, "You sure it wasn't the next seat?" or was it the you were in the next seat and there was a couple spaces in between you? So he's asking those Matlock questions. You know the game, right?
Yeah.
How they do it. Okay, so Eddie says he goes over. Well, first off, Eddie says that Carmelo is saying you guys are ass. You guys play. You're like peas, the woman's private parts, right?
Hmm.
And then he says he goes over. Shook is like, you go and dap him after he called you guys asses. Yeah, yeah, I went and dapped him after he called us asses. So it's like at this point, people are like, okay, we had enough of this guy. But
Mm.
I'm just giving you the raw.
Oh
Listen,
wow.
Calvin, we do a good job together.
Hmm.
Like I go on a lot of different channels during the week, and people don't know me and my track record, so they're like, "Oh, he wasn't even in the courtroom." Stella can tell you because I had sent her some information. She saw it. She's like the person that really gets into things. I appreciate her tremendously. But they say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're making it up because they don't know my record." But
No
see,
man, you go.
that's the
You
beautiful
go.
thing. Like we don't just make up stories, as the young kids say, cap. I pretty much can give you precise information to when you can predict Diddy's sentencing down to what,
Yeah.
a year,
Acted within a month. I mean, we
a
got within a
month, yeah,
month.
a month. You see what I'm
Be,
saying? So
because you gave me detailed information, and that's what I need, and that's why we decided. Because as soon as this started, everybody wanted to jump on YouTube and immediately do a show. They were immediately broadcasting day one, day two, day three, day four. We didn't do this until today because we wanted to get a good amount of information. I wanted you to take those copious notes, and we wanted to be very thorough about what we were doing so that we can provide the public with some real answers as opposed to what they've been getting from everybody else.
right. So let me just run this past you real quick. There's this guy that came in that probably shook up this whole thing, but he's placed Hunter as an aggressor.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
so he's the one that's kind of, I don't want to say his name right now, but in my opinion, he went rogue. And
Hmm.
so as a criminal defense attorney, you know that there's a few key things you need to have in this case. Number one, I don't know how they're going to get past he brought a knife into a school type of environment. Okay, so I'm
Hmm.
not taking away from that, but we're breaking down the facts of the case. But here's a couple of things that they need to hold in place because you know the jury can go astray on you and say,
Hmm.
"Hey, we find him. We're gonna give him 3 years instead." You know, they can go if it gets too messy, like in Diddy's case, where you think
Hmm.
they have it sold up, right? So
Hmm.
there's a couple things you need. You need that Eddie didn't know him. See, that
Hmm.
builds the perfect scenario. You need that Hunter didn't do a thing. He was the altar boy. You need him
Hmm.
sitting the whole time,
Hmm.
and this guy puts him. Now he's not the first one to put him on his feet, but he puts him into the mix real heavy. That's a problem.
Yeah, it is, especially when the state calls the witness, and the state called that witness. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
And see, that's the thing. When you call these witnesses, and see, this is what happens sometimes, and especially when it comes to young people. Young people are smart too as well. They're not going to be used. They're not going to be used. So you call a young person to testify, they're going to give you, some of them are going to give you what you tell them to give you, but some of them are going to be like, wait a minute, no, I'm going to give you what I saw. I'm going to give you what happened. I'm not going to let you tell me to tell them what happened. I'm going to tell you what actually happened because they understand how important this case is. And they also understand that it could very well be them on trial. And they would not want somebody, you know, fudging or lying or exaggerating on them, right?
right,
So you got to be careful. And if it's their witnesses that are doing some of this, that would concern me. And the way he laid it out, acting like Eddie did not know Carmelo, and actually Eddie does know Carmelo, seems like he knows him extremely well. that's going to be a problem for them. I think that a lot of it still is going to hinge on, did Austin do that per se football move on him and lift him and end up on top of him? Or was it a push, then a stab? I think that's where a lot of this case is going to be settled.
Right. So let me explain this. The football move was described, and he said specifically what type of move is called in football, but the witness, said it exactly and he demonstrated it. So this came from one of the guys that is currently in college. They flew him in. So that's legitimate. It came from a witness, right?
Okay.
Um, okay. But this is what I want to ask you about. One of the coaches, when Carmelo was running away and he ran to the field, they say he ran by the coach. One of the coaches told him to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she handed him off to this big coach, black guy. I think his name is Holding or something like that, right? Holding.
Mm-hmm.
He said he put his hand around Carmelo
Mm-hmm.
and said, what did you do? And he really didn't explain. But he said he got distracted. He stepped away from Carmelo for a couple of minutes, went back and got him. So Carmelo didn't try to run
Mm-hmm.
like the opening arguments. The prosecution said he was trying to get away, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the man, the coach, he says, "Man, you probably ruined the rest of your life over this guy."
Mm-hmm.
Um, because Carmelo has said that he hit me first. The guy said he heard that.
Mm-hmm.
But Carmelo said, "Oh, he's not gonna die." And the guy says, "Yeah, he probably is gonna die or something like that." And this guy Carmelo basically had like a little breakdown or a nervous, like a breakdown. He went
Oh
crying
wow.
when he realized that because he thought he probably just gave him a back up off me move. And
Mm-hmm.
then he's realizing from this coach who has experience that, listen, you probably killed this guy.
Oh man.
Then when Carmelo got to the police officer, he asked the police officer, "Hey, is he going to live? Is he going to be okay?" Because he didn't want him to die,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. So this is not a point where you have investigators surrounding you like in the first 48.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying these things when he doesn't know the severity of the matter. But I could tell that was a defining point in the courtroom when people realized he didn't even think this guy was going to die. Really, it was a
So it's one.
sincere.
It's his actions at the time kind of say that he wasn't trying to kill him or even thought that he killed him, even though the killing happened. And
Correct.
so he didn't even think he did that to that point. So basically his actions, and I always tell people, when it comes to intent, sometimes you can determine intent by what happens right before and right after. So if somebody thinks that they killed somebody, maybe they run all the way away. But if they just go to a coach, maybe they didn't think something that bad happened. If he's telling his coach, I just hit him back, or I just did something small, maybe he's thinking he didn't kill the young man. And from what you're telling me, based on some witness testimony, is that from what we've saw so far, Carmelo did not think that he killed someone based on his reactions and based on the testimony that we got from a couple of witnesses. And that's different from what the states put out in the beginning of the case. Is that correct?
Right, right, right. And I'll tell you one other quick thing that I think is very
Mm-hmm.
important to get your opinion on. There's been several witnesses. Are you aware of the interview of R. Kelly with Gales?
Yeah, yeah. I
Right.
remember that
Okay.
one. Ooh,
Okay.
rough,
R.
rough.
Kelly. R. Kelly is saying, she asked him a question, and the answer, let's say, is no,
Mm-hmm.
but his head is saying yes. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like the body don't lie, right?
Yeah.
So
God.
there's been two witnesses that Shook is very sharp. He pointed it out, and the guy says, "Oh, he went to hit him on the shoulder." Right? It's almost like their coach because they're just saying, like, who would keep saying he lightly touched him on the shoulder? But they had the guy do a demonstration, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he did the demonstration, he did it with two hands. Shook says, "Wait a minute, you said he's pushing him with one, but your body's showing two, right?"
Mm,
So then
mm-hmm,
Eddie, when they had Eddie show it, right? And Shook is very sharp. He's trying to appeal to the, I call it letting the cat out the bag. He just
mm-hmm,
want the jury to see it, and once they see it, he try to bounce away. You know that little trick the defense always do. They let the
mm-hmm,
cat out the bag, and then they say objection, but it's
mm-hmm,
too late because the cat is out the bag. So when Eddie was giving his demonstration, he's like, "Show us," and then he says, "Yeah." He pushes left shoulder, uh, whatever, whatever, but he used two hands. And you know what Shook did? He was like, okay,
mm-hmm,
no. Your boy Worski, I shouldn't say your boy, Worski, the attorney, says he starts to object or whatever. He was like,
mm-hmm.
oh, that's okay. That's enough. And then he went and sat down, Shook. He
Oh,
already
so,
he already got him to do it with two hands,
uh-huh,
but he's verbally saying that he had only pushed him with one. So that's two guys that are on top of the guy who said he did that football move.
mm-hmm.
So it's quite clear. You got three guys saying there was two hands.
And let me share something with y'all now.
Break it
I'm
down.
not I'm not a football player.
All right.
I could have been a football player, but I'm not. I'm a basketball player. When I went to college, one of my best friends in at Howard University was a guy named Daryl Hayes. Daryl Hayes was a all conference offensive lineman. And what linebackers would try to do to him is they would try to do that move where they got up under him and try to get up under him so that they could move him and control him. And what you're able to do is you think you can get up under the shoulder pads, you can control them. Now they didn't do a good job of that because Daryl would get up under them and he would pancake them. But if you could get up under them, you could control where they go. So, for example, if I run up on you, Mel, right below where your tie corners are at, if I get your shirt there, I can literally dictate where you're going to go. I can lift you up. I can take you to the left. I can take you to the right. I can take you straight back. I can go up and dump you if I want to. I can do whatever I want to do if I get up under you right here. That's what I remember him showing me as an offensive lineman of what linebackers would try to do to him to be able to get up under him. So that football particular move, that's where that's where that comes from. So if you're able to get under somebody, then there you go. Now, it depends on where Carmelo had the knife, and it depends on where Austin ended up. If they end up like this and Carmelo has the knife, it could have went to the stomach, it could have went to the sternum, it could have went to the chest. It just depends on when he does this move, on when he lifts him up, where he ends up moving him to, or how he moves him, or where he ends up on top of him at. So that's where a lot of this case, I think, is going to turn on.
Yeah. In court, they say he was struck in the abdomen. On some of the mainstream media, they say, and I'm not trying to take away from it what
Mhm.
he did, but they make it seem like he reached down, grabbed his knife. He was standing, and he reaches up and poke him. Right? No,
That's
he
what
never.
it
He
seems like.
never. He never stood up. I mean,
Mhm.
so many. Everybody says that. That's not even a point of contention. You don't have anybody putting Carmelo on his feet until after this happened. So he
Mhm.
sat the whole time.
Mhm.
After Austin comes to you and says, "Let's move your bitch ass up out of here," right? And
Mhm.
this other guy that came in to testify, he said a lot of these guys were cursing and talking about what they wanted to do to Carmelo. But
Mhm.
anyway, he swooped down, and as he basically comes in, because in the video you see he comes in like a freight train. Eddie says he knocked him out the way. He only said that close to when it happened. He wouldn't repeat that in court, now. So he
Mhm.
goes down with those two hands, and he
Mhm.
basically goes right down on that knife,
Mhm.
because he probably grabbed it out real quick, turned it up,
Mhm.
and he came down right on it. He probably, I don't know the method of how
Yeah.
it came to him, but these are things you don't normally hear in mainstream media. But I think it's important for us to discuss it because we can ultimately find them in the transcripts.
Okay. And so these are the things that we're talking about tonight, y'all. And I think we went through several of the comments tonight. Once again, me and Mel do this show called the Weekly Legal Review. We do this show every Sunday night, 6 p.m. Texas time, 7 p.m. New York time. We're probably going to do this show again next. We're definitely going to do the show again next Sunday. But depending on when a verdict happens or when this trial rests, there probably is going to be another show. I would say potentially Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how the rest of this trial goes. So if we're going to do another show, I want y'all to pay attention, tune in. We're going to do another show just like this. We're going to report the facts of what happened. We're going to go over all of those possibilities. I'm going to give it to you straight. Now, tonight, we have not talked about the racial component a lot. I haven't talked about that specifically for a reason. I want to make sure that I just interview somebody like Mel, who has went to trials before, who takes copious notes, who pays attention to witnesses, to body language. Look at the notes he takes. He pays attention to witnesses, body language, repetitive statements, repetitive words. And the reason why he does that is because he's been doing that for a while. And the fact that we have been working together, that's another thing. Another reason he does that is because as a criminal defense attorney, I tell him to pay attention to those things. Yes.
Yeah, I need to ask you this question if you're going to be aiming to close out, because I think this case is going to be contingent on this too. And I
Yes.
think we need to get it because I feel like this case might close out before Wednesday or Thursday. I think it's going to be
Okay.
over soon. In the case, I think it's Shook that brought out that Carmelo Anthony has seizures and that he has epilepsy.
Oh, I
So,
didn't know that.
so based on his fragile health situation, I think they're going to try to use that to say he can't stand to be punched, he can't stand to be thrusted or whatever it's going to be.
Mhm.
Will that play a key component in this case?
It very well could. I will tell y'all, there have been issues with particular individuals in the past. As a defense attorney, I've had clients that have had seizures. If you punch somebody who has seizures, you can literally kill them. So if you have epilepsy or seizures and you get punched in the chest or you get choked or you get hit in certain places, you could literally lose your life if you get into the wrong kind of altercation with somebody. And that's interesting that you have seizures and you play football because they used to didn't even let people with seizures play football. But believe it or not, I mentioned my friend Daryl Hayes on the football team with him. His roommate actually had seizures. And we literally had to watch him, and he had to literally um, only play special teams because he had seizures. They wouldn't let him do anything else. So a hit to the chest for somebody who has seizures could be a huge problem for somebody in that situation. So I think that if I'm Mike Howard, I point to that as well. So like I tell everybody, Mel, one of the things that we're going to talk about is the actual testimony of each of these witnesses, uh, the story of the prosecution, the story of the defense, all of these different factors in terms of did he stick Austin with a knife because he got pushed? Did Austin approach him? Was he the aggressor and ended up doing some kind of football move and ended up on top of him? Was Eddie coached? Is Austin telling the truth about it? Is Carmelo telling the truth about what happened? Um, are all of these witnesses telling the truth about it, what happened, or some of them deciding that I'm not going to go with the narrative that the state has given me? I'm going to tell it the way that I saw it. There's a lot of stuff here that we need to unpack as a as a case and as attorneys. And so I want everybody to continue to rock with us. We do this show every Sunday. It's called the Weekly Legal Review with attorney Calvin Johnson and Mel Smith. We're on this channel, Watching the World 777. We have been doing this for the last 10 months. We've done several cases. Right now, we're doing the Karmelo Anthony case down in Collin County, McKinney, Texas. And we're going to be talking about this case during this week. Mel didn't seem to think this case is going to run that much longer. So we could potentially be back with you maybe even Tuesday or sooner, depending on when this case ends. And so we're going to go. We're going to continue to report on this case. We want y'all to continue to support us, support this channel. And I want everybody to know that I'm just here to provide my perspective on what's happening on this case. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to get everything right. I just try to give as much information down the middle as much as I can. And I try to give as much information as possible based on what Mel sees in the courtroom and what I have experienced as a private defense attorney. So once again, I appreciate you. I want you to continue to follow this channel. You can find me at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. That's my email. I can be reached on my website. Hopefully, they have updated the website. Theywon'tletmeout.com. That's right. The song Theywon'tletmeout.com locked up. They won't let me out. Theywon'tletmeout.com. I can also be reached at 214-565-5600. Hopefully, they've updated my website. Had a problem with that recently, but we're going to get that going. Also, I can be reached at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. Also, I can be followed on Facebook. So you can go to my Facebook page and you can follow me there. I'm big on community. I'm big on the Dallas community. I'm big on doing a lot of stuff with our youth. And I'm big on South Dallas, the community that I'm from. Shout out to Turnip Course and shout out, most importantly, to Dixon Circle, where I'm from, the home of Larry Johnson, the home of Seven the Great, my great friend, hip hop artist, and to everybody that I grew up with. Shout out to Michael Harris. Shout out to those Lincoln Tigers. Shout out to the people at Law Magnet. Shout out to the Howard Payne University Yellow Jackets. And shout out to the St. Mary University School of Law that I attended. Shout out to Seagoville High School. Play basketball for them for a year to be able to play. Shout out to Chris Bosch, who I actually was an attorney for. And shout out to Coach Leonard Bishop, who is my high school basketball coach and who I love dearly and who is one of the biggest influences of my life. Love you, Coach Bishop, and love the South Dallas community. Once again, thank you, everybody, for showing up to our show. And look up, and we might have another show either Tuesday night or later on this week, depending on when this case ends. But as soon as this case is over, we're going to report and have a show that night and give you our thoughts about what happened. And if this show runs into next week, we're definitely going to be on 6 p.m. next Sunday night on Watching the World 777. Thank you for tuning in. Catch you later on this week.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beat as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. of harmony, painting the night. United